Today we're going to paint with tempera paint, and we are going to learn about the horizon line. We're going to learn about silhouettes, and we are going to create a sunrise or sunset by blending from yellow to red. And while I was making this lesson, I realized we are also going over the vocabulary words skyline and opaque. So get ready for fun. Hello, my talented artists. If you like this content, don't forget to subscribe and give me a thumbs up. Today we're going to start with yellow paint with a little drop or dollop of white paint. No, not paint. And some red. So those are two primary colors, and we're going to get all the shades in between. We also need a paintbrush and a pencil. I'm going to use a marker so you can see, but you're going to use a pencil. So we are making a landscape with a silhouette of trees. The first thing that we're going to do is we are going to draw the skyline. The skyline and the horizon line are related to each other. Sometimes they are the same line, but only if you're looking out at the ocean or a large body of water and all you see is a straight horizontal line. The horizon line is at eye level. So when you think of the horizon line, you might think of mountains or buildings or trees growing above and the horizon line and sticking out into the sky. And if you make a line along the sky where all those things stick up like buildings and mountains and trees, that is the skyline. Let's look at the painting Sentinel Rock, Yosemite by Thomas Hill. Where is the skyline? Go ahead and just draw the skyline with your finger in the air. Good. Now here's the tricky part. Where is the horizon line? Remember, the horizon line is horizontal, usually straight. If you're far enough away, it has a slight curve because the Earth is a sphere. So where is that horizon line? Good job. Now it's time for you to decide where you want your skyline. It can be really high, it can be really low, it can go from high to low, you can make sort of a mountain, whatever you want. It's whatever you want. There's my skyline. And I would like you, with a pencil, not with a marker, to draw your skyline right now. Don't draw any trees right now. We will be adding them later. It's your turn to draw a skyline, high on your page or low on your page. Mountains, valleys. It's your turn to draw. finished your skyline. That's okay, you'll get time later, because right now I want you to stop and watch. It's time for some paint. If we hurry up, we'll get a lot of painting time. Stop what you're doing, put your pencils down, and we are going to begin painting. So you need to decide which side is the sky and which side is the land. I'm going to have this part be the land and this part be the sky. But the first thing you need to do is you are going to mix up this white and yellow paint. You can either start with kind of a circle that represents the sun or part of one that goes on the skyline, or you can do your whole skyline that lightest color, that yellow with a little bit of white. The reason why I put white in is because the yellow is not as opaque. Do you guys know what opaque means? Go ahead and raise your hand if you think you have a guess at what opaque means. Opaque means you can't see through it. Okay, once you have your lightest color, we are going to take the ittiest bittiest tiny dot of the red, just a corner, about that much. You can always add more, but you cannot take it out once you've mixed it. And then you're going to mix that tiny little bit of red in with your yellowy white. That did not change it enough. That was not enough. So let's take a little bit more. I'm going to take about that much. And I'm going to mix that in. I know this is going to change it. I hope it's not too much. Okay, that's definitely different, but not too different. And I'm going to do kind of wavy brush strokes. As you're painting, you want to make sure that there's no big lumps or mounds of paint, because with tempera paint, it's not the sturdiest paint and it will crack if it's lumpy. So you can see the brush stroke, but you do want it to be smooth. I'm going to take a little more red. Do you think that's too much? Uh-oh. Well, let's see what happens when I mix it in here. If I mix it all in, also my paint on my paper is still wet because I'm moving relatively fast. So maybe I can blend it a little. And I'm doing those lines. And as paint comes out of my brush, I can kind of blend it a little bit, because the goal is for it to go from yellow to red. We don't want any big changes. You guys may recognize ombre in hair. So ombre is a form of blending. Ombre is defined as having tones of color that blend into each other from light to dark. So when we're talking about blending, we're often talking about painting and drawing, and it's a technique of gently mixing two or more colors or values to create a gradual transition or to soften the lines between colors or values. So, and this happens on the paper that you're working on. I'm going to blend that just a little. I can blend it with a little different brush stroke here. And now, what do you think is next? I'm going to add a little bit more red, about that much, and I'm going to mix it in. I'm going to get all my paint there, get it mixed in. That doesn't look a lot darker. Let's put it on the paper and see. Oh, that is darker actually. We have to paint all the way up to the top of the page. Get that paper covered. Kind of got to be a spot detective. Find all those paper spots that are not painted. Now we're going to get darker. I want to get significantly darker at this point. Now we're at the end, so I'm going to get a whole brush full and I'm going to mix that in. Let's see what happens here. I'm going to get a nice big amount of red. So now it's really getting to be a solid orange, orangey color, turning salmon-y. Oh, I wouldn't even call that orange. I would say that's already on its way to red, salmon-y. We did have some white in there, so that's why it's going to have a kind of a pinkish or a salmon-y look. Salmon is a color. It's not just a fish. And now I'm going to do something you might think is a bit crazy, but I am going to just do the red at the top. I'm not going to mix anything. I'm just going to take the red and blend it in. It's nice to have that pop of fully saturated red at the top there. Beautiful. All right, time for painting, folks. This second session of our silhouette tree paintings, we are going to paint everything on the bottom black. Does anybody know what the word silhouette means? Anybody know what the word silhouette means? A silhouette is the dark shape and outline of someone or something visible against a lighter background. In this case, it's trees against the sunrise or sunset. The details inside a silhouette are not visible, so you can't see any details. For instance, this is a silhouette of a person, and I want you to notice how you cannot see any details that are inside the shape. You can't see eyelashes or eyes or nostrils, anything like that, freckles, no details. In our silhouette landscape paintings, we are going to paint all of the land and all of the trees black. They will be in silhouette. So you're going to paint the whole bottom. And when you get to your skyline, go a little bit over that pencil line that you drew, because I don't want to see that. I'm getting a little bit of the big blobs off. I want you to go a little bit over. And remember that when you need more paint, when it starts to get a little patchy, you go ahead and just dip it in and get more paint. So let's see when I need to get more paint. Oops, starting to look like I need more paint. Let me get more paint. There we go. I'm just really smoothing out my paint, making sure that I've hit all my little paper spots. I want it to be solid black. I don't want little in this case I have yellow paper. I don't want the yellow of the paper to be peeking out. Make sure you've painted your whole skyline all the way across your paper. I want to go all the way to the edge as well. Look for any blobs or ridges of paint on your paper and just spread them out. Once you've done that, bloop, we're going to start on the trees. Now there's one thing I want you to remember about the trees. Usually the trees are the thickest where they meet the ground, and then they get thinner and thinner and thinner. So we're just going to start wherever you want. And if you make a very little tree, it'll look like it's far away. And if you make a bigger tree, it'll look like it's close. You make a line going up, and it doesn't have to be perfect, But you want to make the bottom just a little bit wider. It looks more tree-like because trees are wider where they meet the ground, where they grow out of the ground. So it kind of looks like a stalagmite. Stalagmites are the ones sticking up because you might trip over them. The most basic way to start drawing or painting trees is just thinking about whys and also thinking about getting skinnier. So we're going to lift up. So if you press down, it's wider, and if you lift up your brush, it gets skinnier. So I made a Y here. And you can make as many beginnings of your trees as you want. Just start with a basic Y shape. I'm talking about the letter Y. You will paint the bottom, the land part first, all black, and then you can make as many Ys as you have time or inclination. Happy painting! Today we are going to work on our trees, all the way from the big fat trunks to the little tiny twigs. And I know you're gonna do a fantastic job getting all those details in. Let's begin by talking about how you're going to paint the trees. You may already have some little stalagmites sticking up, or maybe some Ys. If you have stalagmites, make them into Y shapes, always thinking about it being the trees being wider at the bottom, and as they grow up to the sky, they get skinnier and skinnier. Off of your Y, your basic Y shape, you're going to make more little Ys, and you just keep going and building your tree larger. So here's a big one. I press down and I kind of lift up, and I can even twist to make it get skinnier. Maybe this one will go off the page. It needs to be a little wider at the bottom, a little wider at the bottom, and then I want to make a Y, right? Get a little skinnier as it goes out. And that's my beginning. Okay, I'm going to work on it, and it is your turn to work on it too. All right, now it's your turn to add all those little tiny twigs that really make it full of detail, just like your awesome writing. Make sure you add all those little details. Happy painting, folks! You all should be very proud of yourselves. I sure am proud of you. And let's see, I guess it's time to clean up soon.